May in Mississippi doesn't ease you into summer, it hits you like a brick wall of humidity. The air was thick and sticky by mid-morning, the kind that makes your hair frizz and your skin feel permanently damp. But inside our home, it wasn't the heat that made things feel heavy. It was worry. Riker, my 5-year-old son, had been hospitalized for 5 days following a boating trip that led to serious infection. It was intense and scary. But we stayed strong. His dad, Dexter, his stepmom, Kelly, and I were there every step of the way. All 3 of us stayed every night during the hospital stay. I still don't know if that was allowed. Regardless, none of us were leaving our baby. We have a fabulous co-parenting relationship, and during those days, we were a team. Being away from home at night was especially hard. As a mom to 3 children and being pulled away from 2 of them, my daughters, Taylor and Aubreigh, felt unnatural. Taylor, my oldest, was nearly 15 at the time, and wise beyond her years, with a fierce heart and the most compassionate soul. And then there's Aubreigh, my middle child, newly 13, sunshine and spark all wrapped into one. It didn't feel right not tucking them in, not hearing the late-night chatter or laughter echoing down the hallway. I missed their hugs, their presence, the rhythm of our little home. Every afternoon after school, Aubreigh and Taylor would come to visit Riker. That tiny hospital room transformed the moment they walked in. It was suddenly a little home away from home. It was full of laughter, pranks, and pure chaos in the best way. We took turns cuddling Riker, stealing the rare decent food off the trays and cracking jokes that had the nurses laughing too. The staff didn't just tolerate us. They joined in. Nurses would peek their heads in just to hear what we were laughing about this time and chuckle as they checked vitals. There was love in that room. Family. Unity. Even amidst the worry, Taylor and Aubreigh, even when they weren't physically there, would text constantly. "How's Riker today? Is he eating anything? Tell him I love him." They wanted updates and photos and to be part of it all, even in the moments they couldn't be. One day after school, Aubreigh texted, "Are we still going to the concert?" I didn't know. I wanted to say yes, but everything was uncertain. The Megan Moroney concert had already been on the calendar. We weren't even sure we'd make it. By May 17th, Riker was still in the hospital. His catheter had finally been removed, but we weren't allowed to go home until he could urinate on his own. The concert was only 2 days away and the clock was ticking. We were starting to get nervous. Regardless, we would be fine as long as Riker was better. We tried everything that day: water, juice, Sprite. He drank, and we waited. We cheered him on, encouraged him, and sang silly songs like "Pee-pee in the Potty," even though what we were really rooting for was a hospital-issued handheld urinal. Nothing. By 7 p.m., we had given up hope of going home that night. We figured we'd try again tomorrow, and then, at 7:45, Riker perked up and said, "I gotta go." He was hesitant, nervous, but we all jumped up like a cheer squad. We clapped, chanted, encouraged him, and then, finally, he did it. He peed in that dang urinal. Riker and I ran down the hospital hallway with his gown flapping open in the back, wind blowing as we laughed and screamed, holding up that pee-filled urinal like it was a gold medal. But out and all, unbothered. We ran to the nurse's station, shouting and laughing, proud as could be. My baby was healed. My baby was better. I thought we'd still have to wait until morning for discharge now, as it was already 7:54 p.m. But the doctors and nurses moved fast. The team sprang into action, and just like that, we were discharged. Home again. Back with my baby girls. All my kiddos under one roof, happy and healthy. My mama heart was ecstatic. Concert was a go, but we hadn't had time to shop, not even a little. We had been in the hospital right up until the night of the 17th, and the next day was a Thursday. We were tired, behind, and totally unprepared. So on May 18th, we scrambled. We dug through closets and texted friends looking for cowgirl boots in every size. It was all thrown together at the last minute, mismatched and unplanned, and it turned out perfect. That Friday, May 19th, 2023, we were a mess. I was home from the hospital, and everything was chaos. There were laundry piles everywhere, dishes piled up, and school bags tossed across the floor. Everyone had school that morning, which threw our whole rhythm off. By the time we were all home and scrambling to get ready, we were already running behind. It was sticky hot outside, the sun burning with that humid Mississippi glare. We all crammed into the car in our boots. Yep, boots in May, and we headed toward the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Traffic was a nightmare. I'm talking full break-to-break gridlock. I kept checking the time, heart pounding. Knowing that Megan Maroney was the opener, not the headliner that was our girl. By the time we found parking, we were in a dead sprint. Cowboy boots thudding across pavement, heat rising invisible. Waves off the blacktop, we rushed into the venue, not even bothering to find her cheap nosebleed seats that I had purchased, and somehow miraculously an entire section down near the stage was open. Nobody was there, so we took the chance. I told the girls, if someone comes, we'll move, but for now, let's enjoy this. I know, Mom, fail wrong, seats wrong, section. But in true laid-back winging it fashion, we were already laughing about it as we moved. We missed the few first lines of her opening song, but we were there. The music was loud, the crowd buzzing, and we danced like idiots. We were laughing, screaming completely out of pitch, sounding more like squatting birds than concert-goers, but it didn't matter. Taylor and Aubreigh had their phones out, taking selfies, making videos, sending Snapchat, and capturing every wild moment. I watched them as much as I watched the stage, completely mesmerized, as much as I loved the music and loved being there, but truly warmed my heart for seeing my girls soak it all in. It was their first concert, and they were glowing. I didn't have a mother growing up or get to experience things like this, so giving my girls these kinds of experiences meant everything to me. It probably healed a part of my own childhood I didn't even know was still tender, just watching these two beautiful people that I created, laughing, singing, and living so fully, filled me with so much love and admiration. It was pure joy. Aubreigh looked like an angel. She wore a beautiful white dress, floaty and fun, her favorite. Her long blonde hair was curled into soft beach waves, and on her feet her blue glitter cowgirl boots. Her lashes, as always, were flawless. She never went anywhere without making sure they were just right. Taylor wore the same dress, but in a fresh grassy green with long brown hair curled into the same beach waves and brown cowgirl boots. I had on a black romper dress and white boots, and yes, my hair was curled, 2 beach waves for all of us. Our signature look, we were a trio of sparkles and southern sass, and we soaked in every second. I watched my girls twirl and laughed like nothing bad had ever happened to either of them before. With every giggle I heard come out of Aubreigh's mouth, I imagined all the negative and nasty encounters from that year evaporating in the summer heat. I did what I could to push it out of my mind, but a mother always remembers. It had only been 2 months since the latest burst of toxicity she had to endure at school, around a particular cruel group of girls. It was always the same girls. Aubreigh had been dealing with bullying for years, since 5th grade. Aubreigh had always been well-liked by most, and that made her a target. She was pretty popular, had a big personality, and worst of all, to some kids, she was kind, not fake, nice, not people-pleasing, genuinely kind, and they hated her for it and for years tormented her. She wasn't just left out of group chats. She received a cold shoulder in the hallway and friends who suddenly weren't friends anymore. But over time, the cruelty sharpened. Girls who once invited her for sleepovers were now whispering behind her back. One day, they post pictures together, and the next she could be completely shut out. They'd be her best friend for 1 week, laughing in the hallways, taking selfies together, hanging out at school events, and hanging out on FaceTime. Then, like flipping a switch the next, they were whispering behind her back. They'd be turning others against her. Start group chats without her, and about her, spreading rumors, mocking her appearance and mocking her on social media, even encouraging her to self-harm. In March 2023, Aubreigh reported being sexually assaulted at a school sports event. When it first happened, Aubreigh was just 12 years old, a 7th grader. A boy at school had crossed a line. She was scared, unsure, but brave enough to speak. She said she didn't want to be called a snitch, but she also said, what he did is bad, and either way, he should be in trouble. She had been sexually assaulted by a classmate, someone she knew, someone the school knew, a boy who should have never been allowed near her again. But when she found the courage to speak up, the very people who were supposed to protect her, the adults, the school, administrators, the system, turned their backs. We filed a report immediately, following the proper channels. I was clear in my boundaries. No one was to question her without an adult present. I told them firmly that she is a child, she deserves to be protected, supported, heard. I told the school what she had shared. She also gave her statement, and I gave clear, firm instructions, do not question her without me, but they didn't listen. The principal pulled her in alone. My 12-year-old daughter, fresh off the most terrifying thing she'd ever shared, was sat down by a man in power and made to relive it. No mom, no advocate, no safety. She was alone. She was scared, and they used that fear against her. And then came the emotional manipulation. They told her people wouldn't believe her, that she would ruin his life, that she'd have to tell her story over and over to rooms full of strangers. They warned her that if she went forward, she would ruin his life, that his family didn't believe her. They told her it would be hard, and they made it harder. At school, kids started choosing sides, literal sides. There was Team him and Team Aubreigh. Someone posted online, "It's really not that deep, she could have stopped him while he was doing it," as if her trauma were a game and gossip. She came home frantic one afternoon, really upset. Her voice cracked, trembling as she whispered through tears, "I'm scared, Mama. Everyone is going to believe him over me. I can't do this." I held her in my arms and kissed the top of her head. I wanted to protect her forever while tearing down the walls of that school and scolding all those kids involved. But all I could do was remind her again and again that she wasn't alone. "I'll do whatever you want me to do. But you can do this, Obs. I got you," I calmly said back to her. "There are cameras at the stadium where he did it, and the school will discipline him." That's what I believed. I believed the school would support us. I trusted the school representative I spoke to when I reported the incident. I was told the school would contact authorities and I didn't need to. But in reality, nobody at her school supported her. Even her close friends backed off a bit because it was so intense at school. Her peers bullied her emotionally and psychologically until she began to doubt herself. She was confused, shaken, unsure. She told me what they said, and I could see it sinking into her skin like poison. I watched her bright light go out as she told me that they made her feel like she had done something wrong. Not him, her. My skin felt like it was on fire as I held her and kissed the top of her head. I reassured her that she was right and he was wrong. But the pain wasn't just the assault itself, it was in the silencing that followed. My little girl was led to believe that her voice didn't matter. She was sent a message from adults that made her believe to her core that she didn't matter. Her experience wasn't important, and she needed to pretend trauma that happened to her was all in her head. A few days later, she withdrew the complaint. Not because it didn't happen, but because they wore her down. She hated being at school and just wanted to move on, take the spotlight off of her, and maybe people would forget it. Aubreigh, who was already fragile, was already trying to hold her head up from being bullied by others for years, just stopped talking about it altogether. She buried it, not because it didn't hurt, but because it hurt too much. I know she told herself it was possible to move on. She wanted to let it go, not because it didn't matter, but because it was breaking her. "I don't want to talk about it anymore," she told me. "I just want to move on." I know she tried to survive. But how do you survive in a place where you're reminded every day that your safety, your story, and your pain don't matter? She was tired of being brave, of being blamed, of trying to hold up a truth no one wanted to carry with her. As a mother, every instinct in me screamed to fight, to push, to march down to that school and demand justice until they had no choice but to listen. I wanted to carry her pain, to shoulder it for her so she wouldn't have to, but I also knew I couldn't force her to keep reliving it. She was 12. Still a little girl, trying to hold herself together in a world that was already breaking her spirit. She had been questioned alone, made to feel responsible for what had been done to her, bullied by kids and adults alike into thinking she'd ruined someone's life just for telling the truth. I could see the weight it was taking on her, and so as much as it gutted me, I let her withdraw her complaint. Not because I believed it was the right thing, but because I knew she couldn't carry it anymore. I chose my daughter's peace over the fight. The damage was already done, not because of my baby girl, but because of the girls she went to school with. Weeks later, one of those girls slapped Aubreigh in the face at school. I reported it, and the only thing the school did was remove the girl from a sports team, and then that girl had the nerve to text Aubreigh. I wanted to shake off so many years of pain, trauma, and anxiety that night. We told ourselves it was nearly summer. We could have a break from her classmates who never treated her right. But that particular school year, 7th grade, did something different to Aubreigh. It changed her, maybe even broke her. And that night, at our first concert together, I was watching my girls shine so brightly. Nobody would have ever known anything awful had ever happened to either of them, Or in 4 months, one of them would decide to leave Earth on her terms. I jumped around with my girls and shook off all the toxic crap from Aubreigh's 7th grade year right alongside her, and when Megan finished her part of the set, we rushed outside to the balcony to take pictures. Something we would have done before the show, but since we were late and barely made it in time to catch her songs, we didn't want to miss a second of it, so we waited until after her set, and then we ran out to capture the moment. The sun was starting to set, and the sky behind the Colosseum was streaked with soft pinks and warm gold, something that would later mean so much more to me. We laughed and posed and spun in circles in our boots, still breathless from the songs we had just belted at the top of our lungs. It was one of those moments you bottle up and wish you could freeze. After pictures and water breaks, we went back inside. We stayed for the next act too, still giddy and in that rush, but by then, we were just riding the wave. Eventually, we decided to beat the crowd and head out early. Outside, Taylor kicked off her boots and skipped barefoot across the concrete in the parking lot, her socks turning black from the pavement. We laughed until we couldn't breathe. We couldn't find the car, and when I tried to beep the fob, the battery was dead, so we wandered the lot, half lost, half laughing. When we finally found the car, we blasted Megan Maroney's album all the way home, windows down, voices hoarse. That night didn't feel special because it was a concert. It felt special because it was effortless joy, the kind you don't realize is rare until later. June came and went with the usual mix of beach days and birthdays. We celebrated Taylor turning 15 with a beach trip to Florida. It was all sunscreen, laughter, and salt-sticky hair. The heat in June was no joke, high 90s most days, the kind where even the breeze felt warm, but the days were full. The girls had sleepovers, hung out with friends, went on boat trips, and saw movies. It was everything summer was supposed to be. Then came July. Aubreigh had been counting down the days until her first overnight and out-of-state youth trip. It was to M28 camp in Lake Junaluska, North Carolina, July 3rd through 6th. We had gone shopping together to get her all the little things she needed. Travel-size everything, cute camp outfits, and a new water bottle. She was giddy, nervous, but giddy. I was a nervous wreck to have her so far away and for so long. It was her first real trip like this without family. She bonded with other students over their love for God. They sang worship songs, participated in small group devotionals, played volleyball, and shared their testimonies late into the night. They went into whitewater rafting and paddleboarding and spent quiet time by the lake reflecting and praying. It was everything a youth retreat should be, fun, faith-filled, and unforgettable. Towards the end of camp, she messaged me, "Mom, this is life-changing." And then, "I'm going to be saved again." She'd been baptized once before, at 8, but this time, she said it felt different. I was thrilled for her. I was sad I wasn't going to be there to witness her get rebaptized, but I knew she was in great hands. This time, she understood. It wasn't required, but in her heart, she needed to make that step. And she did. She came home beaming with joy, not in a fake surface way, in a deep, real way, like she knew something different about the world and herself. July was full of excitement. Since Aubreigh was coming back from camp the day of Riker's 6th birthday, we waited and celebrated on July 8th at a trampoline jump park. She joined in on all the fun, jumping, laughing, and running around with all of Riker's little friends. She was always the best big sister, fun and playful, but nurturing like a mama. We used to joke that she was his second mama. After that, we went right into back-to-school chaos. New shoes, a new backpack. She wanted Lululemon everything, girly, trendy, all about the latest styles. She tried on outfits, asked my opinions 100 times, and made TikToks in her room. She was so excited. We spent days out on an island off the coast of Mississippi just enjoying life and each other. At night, sometimes Aubreigh would help me prep for my new classroom. We'd sit side by side on the couch watching our favorite TV shows, stapling papers and punching holes in paper and worksheets that I'd use in my classroom starting in the fall. During the days, she'd come with me and help me decorate my new classroom. Aubreigh was happy. She was loved. She was supported. She was silly and vibrant and bubbly. She was the girl next door. She laughed and danced and sent streaks on Snapchat. She loved hard and forgave easily. She was ours. And in the middle of it all, we had no idea of the storm that was coming.